Hey, soul family. I am cozy in my home, wearing my winter hat, bundled up in blankets. It's 11 degrees here where I am, but that's actually a heat wave we've had. And it's 11 degrees, feels like 7, but we've had some really cold weather, like negative 11 last week. So I'm just a chilly willy, and I like to wear my hat if it makes me feel more cozy and safe. And honestly, protecting the crown chakra, which there's a lot of energy up here, connection to spirit and all that. So I think it's got dual purpose. But anyways, I wanted to share a little story about what happened to me yesterday. I baked some goodies for some event, and I had to pick up my pan, and somebody that I don't really know, I kind of just know of, reached out to me about my pan, and we got to talking. I don't even really know how it happened, but God just led us in this conversation, getting to know one another and deep dive into her story and find out she just got divorced from a very toxic situation and was dealing with kiddos in the mix and whatnot. And I was, she's like, oh, it's just so hard with the healing and, just anxiety and stuff like that from it. And I said, well, she kind of explained some of the things going on, and I'm like, oh, he kind of sounds narcissistic. And then I'm like, I'd be happy to do a soul quality test for you to tap into his Akashic records and just kind of see what you're up against, because being educated on narcissistic abuse is huge. I mean, people are throwing that term around very frequently and flippantly. Everybody's a narcissist, right? I really do believe we have a narcissist epidemic, but I truly believe it's a soul disorder more than anything else. Yeah, sure, you can go down the psych evaluation path and like mental and emotional stuff, of course, but I truly believe narcissistic abuse, from what I've been shown and guided to understand from my divine team, is that it's a soul disorder, and people choose at a soul level to kind of cut themselves off from their conscience and their empathy and their connection to spirit and the divine. So they physically have to take energy from their environment, which is like, if you ever heard the term energy vampires or like narcissistic supply, it's just what they have to do. So try not to take it too personally if it's been you, and just try to see it from a higher perspective. And like, they just have to take from their environment. They have to drain you all your good energy and exhaust you because they need it. And so the more you can cut yourselves off energetically, the better. Set better boundaries emotionally, mentally, physically, sexually, financially. But sometimes you can't fully cut that cord. You might be intertwined with them for whatever reason, but knowing what you're up against can really be helpful. I got a lot of education about narcissistic abuse. I really had no idea what it was until the light bulb went on. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like a thing. Like, they all kind of operate on the same playbook. And I would argue that there's like a spectrum of narcissism, just like there's kind of like this autism spectrum. Like, some are more dangerous than others, depending on how skilled they are at manipulating and gaslighting. And I kind of do feel like over time, they just kind of, the more they've been allowed to get away with it, the more dubious they kind of get, and like the more powerful they become. And, just if you're intertwined with them and have had a soul crushing experience with them, you probably are the empath, and like the narcissist empath dynamic is very common. They're meant to teach you something too. So what was I going to say about that? Oh, so it's definitely a learning experience for the empath to learn how to really set really clear boundaries. But getting educated about what you're up against is really helpful. Now you can go down like the traditional psychotherapy path, and the thing that sucks about that is like some of them are very, very skilled. They know like intuitively what they should say, what society expects of them. They can kind of read the room, read your energy, read what, like, kind of know what your kryptonite is, like how to push your buttons. They're very skilled in that. And I do believe like intuitives and sensitives are also very skilled, but they're just using their intuition for good. And like the narcissistic is using it for his or her evil, dubious plans to basically gain more and take from others and for their own gain. So I do believe we shouldn't feel bad for them. It's a soul level choice they made when they decided to come here, that's what they were going to do. And they could probably change with some very deep soul searching and healing and work. Most likely they don't, though. And it's just your job to kind of understand what you're up against and know how to heal and set boundaries. So anyways, I was worried about telling her that I have the soul quality test, because I grew up in a very Christian environment, and like some of the things that I've been shown by God and tapped into my spiritual gifts are kind of a little bit taboo. But I told her that I do it. It was just my job to share it. I'm like, I can tap in and just kind of see what the energy is with him, just to kind of know what you're up against, because education is really powerful. It really helped me understand, like, is he just wounded? Is he like got attachment issues, addiction issues? Like, I mean, I don't get too far into that. I kind of just read the Akashic records and do the soul test to see where they kind of are on the spectrum. And she's like, sure, what the heck, why not? And I'm like, wow, okay, I only need some basic information, stuff she would already know, and I did it for free. But when I tapped in, I'm like, okay, I'll let you know when I do the reading and just kind of see what you're up against. And she's like, I don't think he's narcissistic. But then she was listing things off, and I'm like, well, either way, it's making you feel a certain way, and it's pretty toxic, and like regardless of what the issues are. But my point was, like, you go down the regular psychotherapy path and the counseling and stuff like that, even if they were to try to do a psych evaluation, some of these people are just so skilled that they could dupe a psych evaluation. I truly believe they could lie their way through it, and they fool a lot of people even in counseling. It's really hard to know. It's really hard to know because you have to spend a lot of time over a long period of time watching them, how they behave with other people, how they handle their finances and all that, their work and friends and family and all that stuff, and then how they treat you, obviously, what trust in your body and like how you feel and their presence and what your dealings with them. And most of us are really sick of the trauma, of relationship trauma, and I don't want to have to learn the hard way and spend years and weeks, months, years of our life wasted with another narcissist, right? So I think the soul quality test is just smart. Like, whether you're joining somebody in business, a new friend, a family member that you're just like, oh gosh, it's always off with them. I just kind of wish I could kind of know. So, and in this situation, it was her ex-husband. They had just gotten divorced. And so I was like, when I was tapping in, I'm like, oh, technically they're not married anymore. And there's some rules and boundaries, spiritual boundaries, that I was told in my training of how to do this, that you need to respect. Like, if you have a grown child who you're not paying for, they're not under your roof, they're independent and on their own, you don't really have the right to tap into their energy. A lot of people do. A lot of people do go in and try to take an energetic record on somebody, and like, but if it's your spouse or your child, or if you have some kind of a, still, or like a family member that is dependent on you, just have to be really careful to respect people, adults, with their free will and everything. So when I tapped in, I located his Akashic record. I got a yes that it was the right person. I didn't have him confused with anyone else. But then when I asked the question to kind of get into the reading of the soul quality test, I kind of got inconclusive data, and it was kind of neutral. It wasn't a yes or no. I'm like, I'm wondering if he's not allowing any access. His soul's not allowing access because they are not married anymore. Technically, like, there's an energetic cutoff there. That cord has been cut energetically, and like the soul doesn't allow certain access, right? I told her I would try again in a couple days, but like right now I'm just getting inconclusive data. I'm not allowed to access it, which is disappointing. But at the same time, I told her, you just need to trust. You obviously left for a reason. That test is like super helpful for somebody who was not sure if they should leave or walk away. She already had enough of her own knowledge and intuition and how it was making her feel, and the anxiety and everything. And the bullying and whatever, the mean treatment and stuff like that. So I'm like, just trust that, that's your answer. You already did leave, and that was probably a huge decision. Most people don't walk away when they have, like, from marriage, unless it's like better off for them to be single. So I told her I'd try again in a couple days, but so I have a lot of integrity when I do those. That just goes to show you, I'm not going to tap in if I get a no that I'm not allowed to access. I respect the spiritual boundaries there, and just because I can doesn't mean I should, type of thing. And there are a lot of people doing, tapping in and not respecting the laws of spiritual laws, right? So I respected, the soul said no. And but while I was in the energy of the situation, I started feeling really anxious, and then I confirmed, is this my anxiety, her anxiety, or his anxiety? And I got that it was hers. And a really beautiful song came through. It was Spirit lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon your waters wherever you may call me. Where my feet may wander, or my faith may be stronger in the presence of my angels. So like that song, I'm not going to sing it, but I just, it wasn't for not me going into that, because I told her, like, I'm glad we did this because I'm sensing you have a lot of anxiety in your heart chakra, like, an overactive heart chakra. And then I kind of explained to her, like, the chakra systems, you want your body to have the energy flowing properly, just like you want your blood and oxygen to flow. Any one of those things, blood, oxygen, energy not flowing and blocking, can cause physical symptoms. You can have an overactive chakra center, you can have an underactive chakra center. So I was getting, like, there's just a lot of energy, too much here, and it's kind of not it's not dissipating down and like flowing. Dissipating is not really the right word. It's not descending down or traveling up. It's kind of getting too much. And that, to listen to that song, and then I told her, some tips for heart chakra. The green, surprisingly, in pinks, are the colors for the heart chakra, and she can do heart chakra opening yoga. There's sound healing on YouTube for free. That's, sound frequencies for the heart healing, and eating red and green foods, wearing colors, like purposely surrounding yourself with those colors, like green and pink. So it wasn't for naught. Like, I realized I didn't get what I wanted too much, but I kind of just trust that whatever comes up is meant to be, and told her to trust her gut on things. And even if somebody's not full blown, I mean, I'm not ever, like, I'm not a doctor, so I can't say, oh, he's narcissistic, but it's the soul quality that we're looking for, of somebody who's chosen kind of to disconnect from their own conscience and empathy and the divine, as well. And they have to take, and like, that's what I'm testing for. And that's typically that kind of behavior of a narcissist fits that soul quality that I'm talking about. So I'm not going to diagnose anybody. I'm not a doctor, but there is like a set of traits, and the biggest one. And then if somebody is just kind of cut off from divine source energy, it's best to kind of be careful and walk away, because then they're of this world. And when somebody cuts themselves off from spirit, they kind of make themselves a host for like other kinds of energy, negative energy, fear-based things. It can get really deep. Okay. But then they take from others, so, best to walk away, or definitely set clear energetic boundaries, and not allow yourself to get too close to somebody. And if you can help it, don't date somebody like that. Don't marry somebody. Don't partner up in business. Maybe don't even work for the cool thing is you can do this even for, like, you want to hire a certain employee, the basic information on them based off of their resume. You could do soul quality tests and just make sure that you have good people that have good heart and soul in your business, because long gone are the days where a lot of us don't want to work in toxic environments, and it just takes one, and you got to make sound decisions. And it's way too hard to find out how somebody is, like, on an interview or a date, or even 3 dates, or even a week or 2, because like they're really good at wearing the mask, because they know what they should say. They're really intuitive to know what they should say, what the behavior, the norm behavior is. Now, they can't genuinely muster up a lot of those real emotions. They're faking it a lot of the time. And the mask does slip eventually. And like, I don't know about you, but I'm really sick of aligning with people that don't have my best interest in mind. And if you're an employer, dang well, it just takes one bad egg in the bunch to just ruin the vibe of a really positive work environment. So like, this test is huge, not only just for dating, because I would say biggest application is for dating and marriage, because who you decide to marry and partner up with affects every single aspect of your life: mental health, emotional health, financial health, sexual health, everything, physical health. It's dangerous to get intertwined too close with people like that, and then in a workplace, it's your work family. It's the same thing. But obviously you can go home at the end of the day after work and shut it all off. When you're married, you can't. But so it just applies to so many things. But I just wanted to share that, because I just wanted you to know, like, that, yeah, that's cool that I can do that test, but there's a lot of spiritual guidelines, and I need to respect that spiritual place. It's a very sacred knowledge, and I'm not going to get access if I'm not given permission, and I'm going to honor that. And if somebody were a paying client, I would give them their money back, because I'm not going to lie and make up something. I could have told her what I thought she wanted to hear, or what I wanted to hear, just to make it look like I was smart, but like, I'm not going to do that. That's just not me. So, it protects you there if you are curious about the soul quality test, but it's there for you as a resource. Doesn't take long. Just tap in with a couple basic questions that you would already know the answers to, I'm sure. In fact, she didn't even know exactly like birthplace I needed, and didn't know the exact city, I don't think. So I just had to kind of go with whatever I had access to. So that's fine too. But I will try again just to see. But that day it was definitely closed. And, you know, like honestly could have been her energy that closed it off too. Like, even though she said she was open, she could have had a moment of like, oh, maybe this isn't really of God. And so I was getting a no. And I didn't really dive too deep into why, but I just was like not able to access it. So there's so much that goes into it, and so much happens spiritually and energetically in everything that we do. So much of what we see and experience in the physical first comes about in our energy, right? Like the power of the subconscious mind too. Like they say, 95% of our untapped resources in our brain are just stuff from like programmed memory that our brain is trying to keep us safe from things that have happened in the past. That's its job, right? To just keep us safe. And so a lot of it is like reprogramming our brain, and the brain can be reprogrammed, and to allow access to like more parts of our brain, and healing the brain can do amazing things. So that gets into kind of quantum. I'm obsessed with like quantum stuff, and I would tend to take a little bit more to the spiritual side, but it's proven knowledge now that we have energy and we need to be careful with it, right? And like want our blood and oxygen to flow and energy. So I did a little like Reiki for her, and that happened instead. And it was a little bit, hopefully helpful to her in her healing. What got channeled through wasn't the results of the test so much, but just a little support for her. So all in all, it was a good exchange. And just wanted to rant about that. 17 minutes. Oh my gosh. Wow. Can talk. And actually 17 breaks down to an 8, and 8 is like the infinity symbol, and just the flow of everything. You know, like I said, you want the body to be flowing the energy. An example would be like, let's say you have a chronic problem of not speaking your truth, and that's like speaking your truth, even writing it, not admitting to yourself your truth, or being able to speak it or set boundaries or whatever. Not one time, but like chronically, where you never stand up for yourself or use your voice to advocate or set boundaries or anything, right? You can actually slow down the energy in your throat chakra, and you know, obviously things aren't going to be able to go up to the upper chakras or down. I believe a lot of it starts in the heart. So you can't really access like your third eye or your crown, and like third eye is all about intuition, crown is access to spirit. If you're blocked, you know, you are limiting the amount of energy that can flow to all those channels. And but then the other downside of it is you block all that energy. You can eventually over time manifest slowing down of the blood and oxygen to those throat organs, and like, you know, the esophagus, the jaw, the teeth, the lymph here, and all that stuff. So thyroid, you know, there's a lot of health issues that come about by not addressing your energy. And so I can do remote Reiki and things like that too, and in person, but obviously remote is fine too, and channeled messages to give you tips on like what chakras are blocked and what needs healing, and blah, 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 blah. So reach out to me if you want that soul quality test or any other channeled messages of tips and guidance from your angels and higher self, and or some remote Reiki. I can do all kinds of things, and I can channel even past on loved ones and do a soul rest reading for them. I've done readings for people about to pass, who already passed. Like, it's pretty wild when you tap into the Akashic records, and a soul trusts you with their energy and have integrity, which is why I do believe I've been gifted more, because I do my best to keep things pure, intended, and safe, and respect the sacredness of it. And my nose is dripping. So releasing a lot of energy as I'm speaking and clearing my throat chakra, and hopefully somebody that's receiving this will also get some healing and release of energy just by having their consciousness expand with this new information. So I know it's a little out there, but it's really not. It's really not. We are a spirit in a body, not a body with a spirit. Just like C.S. Lewis, they say he coined that term, but I don't know that he actually did. But it's not that you are a body with a spirit, you are a spirit with a body. And a lot of us get that wrong. So incorporating body, mind, soul into all you do, the work you choose, the partners you choose, the friendships, your creative endeavors, all that really matters. And like a lot of people are wanting that part of themselves to come online, and they're sick of compartmentalizing it or stuffing it down and pretending it's not there. So I'm here to help you. I'm your spiritual baddie, and I'm here to help you. Okay. Bye.